against those that are damned.
We show no mercy.
We show no mercy.
We will see, we'll fight until eternity. Come with me, we'll stand and fight together. Through our strength, we'll make a better day. Tomorrow we shall never surrender. We will see, we'll fight until eternity. Come with me, we'll stand and fight together. Through our strength, we'll make a better day. Tomorrow we shall never surrender. We shall never surrender.
What is there to say about Devil May Cry 4? It's the first Devil May Cry game to release on multiple consoles. It's the first high-definition Devil May Cry game. It's the first game in the franchise to have multiple playable characters from the get-go, even in the same campaign. It's the best-selling game in the series, selling about 3 million copies by 2014. This may not sound like much when some games are considered failures if they sell 11 million units. Capcom themselves consider this game to be a failure. I do want to bring this up later, so do not let me forget. And to cap it off, it's my first Devil May Cry game. Yes, Uncle Dante popped my virgin DMC cherry before I fell in love with the series, really starting with the reboot.
You cooled off yet, kid?
My name is James, and this time on That Game Review Show, we're going to be taking a look at arguably the best Devil May Cry game, Devil May Cry 4. Not the 2008 original, we're going to be taking a look at the 2015 re-release, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. We start this game with this mysterious kid slaying demons with one hand, and his other seems to be injured. He's putting up a really good fight, even disregarding his arm being injured, taking out the demons pretty quickly. That's a really bad description. Now, where might he be trying to get to in such a hurry? Well, he's running off towards a cathedral where a church service is in order, with his childhood friend Kyrie singing. He makes it to the service by the end of her singing, showing up in his strangely lit up seat just in time for her to notice. Then the actual prayers start. Here in this town, Fortuna, they worship Sparta, the demon who stopped the demons and separated our world from theirs, as a god. This definitely seems strange. Nero, our protagonist, seems very uninterested by the service, that little blasphemer. As strange as it sounds, I guess it makes sense that someone somewhere would worship Sparta, even though plenty of people in this world aren't even aware that he even existed. As they all bow their heads to pray to Sparta, Nero's injured arm glows and the controller vibrates, and a mysterious figure comes down from the skylight. Hold on. He looks kind of oh god, he's killing the Pope. Yes, Dante, our hero from the last 3 games, killed the Pope in cold blood, looking evil as all fucking hell while doing it. Needless to say, the church freaks out, and as Dante kills the guards who try to fight him, the rest of the town runs away. Kyrie ends up falling down in front of Dante. He looks down at her, but wait! Nero comes in and kicks Dante in the fucking face. This scene here is pretty awesome. Watching Dante and Nero fight like this, it's a pretty easy way of showing that Nero is at least on a similar level to Dante. So it's not like we're playing as a shitty weak character.
Nero!
Go with your brother and get out of here!
I will return with help! You stall him until then!
I won't hold my breath. You got a jacked up notion of fair play, pal. And it's beginning to piss me off.
This section is where the tutorial should have been, but since I'm a goddamn Devil May Cry master, I don't need that shit. Completely disregard any footage you see of me messing up. It's all a part of my plan to make myself seem more humble to our small audience, in a way to appear more relatable to you all. Because as I have said, I am a DMC master. After Dante has his fun with Nero, he disappears while being really ominous about how the Order has demons in it. As Kratos and the rest of the guards show up, Nero hides his demon arm, and the mission ends. Kratos gives Nero his mission, to find Dante, who was last seen headed towards Fortuna Castle. Nero immediately heads out, killing any demons he finds along the way. The castle, which is pretty cool looking. Actually, it reminds me of Anne Orlando in Dark Souls 3 quite a bit. Anyways, Nero makes his way through it. He discovers the secret labs for the Order of the Sword, helmed by Agnes, a stuttering weirdo who was just all around pretty creepy.
Not as I had heard, the rumors prove true. As were the new ones concerning your demise.
Don't you think that's a little harsh? Killing me because of the way I talk?
Oh, and apparently Agnes is the father of Nico and 5. I can't imagine why anyone would want to tap that, but I guess that's fine. Agnes was researching ways of restoring this familiar-looking katana, and after seeing Nero's arm, he decides to try and kill Nero to study him. When Nero blacks out, he has a dream of Kyrie in trouble, and in his desperation, his demonic power restores the katana, Yamato, to its former glory. This scene is pretty awesome, with the demon ghost behind Nero and all. I'll talk more about this in the gameplay section though.
Not even I could succeed in restoring it! From that day forward, my heart changed. My second power. Give me more power. What? And if I become a demon, so be it. I'll endure the exile. Anything to protect you.
After this, we see the Pope reawaken, with creepy demonic eyes and black veins. He took part in the Ascension ceremony, in an attempt to become an angel. It at least kept him alive. Nero makes his way through the forest outside of the ice castle, since apparently the hell gates that the Order made are fucking with the environment. After killing Echidna, the Order headquarters is right ahead, and he is stopped by Kratos. Kratos is furious that Nero is part demon and attacks him, revealing that he took part in the Ascension ceremony as well and is now part demon. This here is the best fight in the game, and that's really not saying much. Kratos is defeated, and Agnes shows up with Kyrie as a hostage to get to Nero. Kratos, of course, is furious that Agnes and Sanctus were using Kyrie, so he uses Nero to go investigate. Nero makes his way up the stronghold and fights Agnes again. But Sanctus shows up and summons some Bianco Angelos to distract Nero as he takes Kyrie. Oh, and on his way up, Dante and Nero fight again. And despite Nero being far stronger than he was in the beginning, it's shown that Dante is still just playing around with him. Dante is basically the most powerful being alive in this game. Actually, that's shown to be true in most of the games, not counting 5. Right, 5? The way to the Savior is open, and once Nero reaches the top, he fights against Sanctus himself, who goes down pretty easily, until the Savior is awakened. Then, Nero gets defeated. Sanctus takes Yamato from Nero, and Kratos attacks, but is quickly killed. Sanctus stabs Nero with his Devilbringer, which is shown to be the only thing that can really damage it actually. Hell, in the first mission even Dante's rebellion doesn't do anything against it. Dante and Trish shows up, and Sanctus admits that he would have rather used Dante in the Savior, as he is the son of Sparta, but Nero would suffice, being a descendant. Nero is descended from Sparta? And he uses the Yamato? And he isn't Dante's son? His parentage is a mystery. Nero is absorbed into the Savior, and Dante is asked by a dying Kratos to save Nero and Kyrie. Here begins the second and objectively weakest half of the game. We take control of Dante, who honestly plays absolutely beautifully. But as you might notice, Dante backtracks through all the same areas that Nero does. Sure, the areas have a little more gimmick to them, but that's really it. Same bosses, except for Kratos and Sanctus, and the same enemies that aren't really designed for Dante. Dante makes his way back to the church he killed the Pope in, and there he finds Agnes. This is probably the best scene in the game, with goofy Uncle Dante and Agnes playing along with his antics. It's just a lot of fun to watch.
You summon and kill. Summon and kill. I fail to see the logic here.
Senate. The price to pay for power?
Humans. They are but stubborn and foolish. It takes a journey to hell for them to accept and praise their god. A fact that tickles Irony's judgment.
And your judgments interest me not. For I am here to reclaim what is rightfully mine.
That is what you think. And that is why I wait in your power.
You will fumble the proposition of my quest. Though I encourage for an opportunity to battle a being of such grand delusion as you is a sweet fortune.
Dante kills Agnes and makes his way back down to the true Hellgate and reclaims Yamato. Then, probably the worst fight in the whole game pops up. It's the Savior again. But this time, you have to make your way around to his different parts and destroy the blue crystals. I really hate this boss. But after you beat it, you regain control of Nero, who wakes up inside the Savior's insides and makes his way out. Could I have worded that any worse? Inside the Savior's insides. God, that was fucking stupid. After the somewhat boss rush, he reaches the head where Sanctus is and fights him. This fight is pretty good, but still not all that great. Nero tricks Sanctus into going for the Yamato, and Nero kills him, while also saving Kyrie. He then leaps out of the Savior with Kyrie in his arms where Dante is waiting. But as they begin to celebrate, the Savior awakens again. But Nero crushes it with his Devil Bringer. This is probably the main reason they got rid of the Bringer in 5, seeing as now it's just overpowered. Dante and Nero say their goodbyes, then he and Kyrie begin to be sweet to each other. Right when they're about to kiss, demons show up and the credits begin. That's it for the story. But wait! There's still some things left unresolved. Like, who is Nero's father? And if he and Dante said goodbye, how is Nero running the Devil May Cry van in 5? Yeah, well, this isn't talked about in the game. But there is a novel of the game, and it explains that afterwards, Dante lets Nero and Kyrie open up their own branch of Devil May Cry. And Nero's father is Virgil. Daddy Virgil at one point came to Fortuna to investigate the Order of the Sword. And this is basically the entire plot of Virgil's campaign. Lady and Trish's campaign is similar, as they didn't really make many new cutscenes or anything. So it's assumed that they take place alongside the main game. Not Virgil's. I need to preface this because I didn't write it all that great. Virgil's campaign is technically a prequel, but he plays through all of the exact same stages. It's technically a prequel. Actually, at the very beginning it says it's like many decades ago, so take that as you will. And yeah, this game has multiple campaigns. Well, not originally. For the special edition, they added 3 playable characters in 2 separate campaigns. That's pretty awesome actually, especially for people who played the original a lot. I think now I'll talk about the gameplay. So, as I've said, there are 5 playable characters. In the main game, you play as Dante and Nero. Virgil's campaign is just him alone, and the last one is for Lady and Trish. Dante is mostly just an upgraded version of how he played in 3. He gets the ability to style switch, which is a major improvement from 3. Granted, I usually use Swordmaster anyways, but the ability to change over to Trickster at the press of a button is very nice. He gets 3 devil arms and 3 guns in this game. His iconic Rebellion plays largely the same as it did in 3, which honestly played great anyways. The next one he gets is Gilgamesh, which is basically Beowulf, being the punch and kick master. Then the last devil arm he gets is Lucifer, which puts daggers up in the air, can stick in enemies and explode.
Satisfied. You are set free.
Me personally, I never really used anything other than Rebellion. The guns he gets are Ebony and Ivory, his iconic pistols, Coyote A, which is just a shotgun, and the last gun, which I guess is technically a devil arm, is Pandora, which has a whopping 666 different attack modes. Well, in gameplay it really has probably 10. I don't think I ever really used it. The biggest complaint that people have with Dante, myself kind of included, is that all 3 guns and devil arms are equipped at the same time. So you do have to cycle through all 3 at once, with the left and right triggers. This ruins some of the combo chaining that was much easier to do in 3. 5 should be fixing this, as you can choose how many weapons are equipped at any one time, which is really fucking cool. God, I can't wait to play that game. Oh, also Dante does get limited access to Yamato, but it takes the place of the styles when in use. He doesn't get to do much with it either. but it is kinda cool to have that option. Nero plays fairly similar to Dante, as he gets a sword and a gun. But there are some major differences. His gun, the Blue Rose, is a double-barreled revolver that would make Revolver Ocelot orgasm. And his demonic arm, the Devil Bringer. Okay, yeah, his revolver isn't that much different than Dante's pistols, but the Devil Bringer is really fucking cool. It allows Nero to grab faraway enemies and bring them in closer, or drag Nero towards the larger ones. It's the precursor to the Ophion Whip that Ninja Theory used in the reboot, except you could attack with it as well. If you hit the button for it, circle for me as I played on PlayStation, Nero grabs the nearest enemy and slams them into the ground, or he can just pick them up and throw them. It changes depending on the enemy. If you press and hold the gun button, Nero charges up his demonic energy in its Devil Bringer, and once it's released, shoots a powerful energy blast. And if fully charged, it actually explodes again. He gets a lot of different attacks with his sword, the Red Queen. Dante gets several combos, sure, but seeing as Nero is limited to one sword, they had to up the amount of attacks. All of the ground combos are pretty great, my personal favorite being the one where he slams it against the ground repeatedly. That's Combo B, I don't know why I didn't write that. Nero also gets a lot of aerial potential, being able to grab enemies into the air and using roulette to gain even more air. He also has access to the Exceed system. If you press the left trigger repeatedly, you begin to power up the Red Queen for an attack, allowing for super strong attacks with slightly different finishes. And there is a trick to it, where the moment the attack lands, you can press it again and instantly gain a little bit of Exceed depending on how accurate your timing was. I got pretty good at it, being able to pull it off pretty reliably, but I still ended up just pulling the trigger repeatedly during some combos. Nero's Devil Trigger is special as well, seeing as he doesn't undergo any physical change. He gains a spectral image of the demon behind him wielding Yamato. As Nero attacks, the image attacks as well, just a few moments behind, effectively doubling the amount of attacks. Nero also gains the ability to shoot summon swords alongside his guns, increasing his damage output even more. With Nero's Devilbringer attacks, they actually gain more strength when in DT with unique animations, which is pretty awesome. Nero really is a blast to play as, but unfortunately having Nero is a detriment to Dante. Most of the enemies that Dante faces are designed for Nero, getting knocked too far away from basic combos, and honestly moving way too fast. This also applies for bosses, who are meant to have strong grab attacks that Nero can pull off, but clearly Dante can't do that. That on top of Dante retreading all of the same ground that Nero already did, really makes this playthrough a slog. The game was clearly rushed, but apparently while they planned to have a lot more for Dante, they didn't end up really cutting anything as they never really got quite that far in developing his sections. This is unfortunate, seeing as if Capcom had the time to finish it, it could have easily been super amazing. There is one advantage to playing Dante so late. I don't have any footage of this, but when Nero gets sucked into the Savior and you take control of Dante, all of the Proud Souls used to level up Nero's moves are refunded, allowing you to invest all of them into Dante's moveset as well. Oh yeah, new combos are bought using Proud Souls now, not red orbs for some reason. Maybe they felt making the currency for consumables and moves different would prevent grinding or something, but it doesn't really work, considering how plentiful the Proud Souls end up being anyways. This also makes the red orbs basically useless depending on how much you want to buy items. But I never try to buy too many, especially when I already have all the blue and purple orbs for health and Devil Trigger. I am really glad in 5 they just stick with the red orbs. Having the Proud Souls just doesn't work that well, especially when they are hopefully going to be getting a lot of new players with 5, seeing as it is the first new game in quite a while. Virgil plays very closely to how he did in 3, starting with Yamato, Force Edge, and Beowulf that he can cycle through at will. Seeing as he doesn't have to switch his guns, he can change back and forth through his weapons using both triggers, vastly improving the amount of combos he can do. And yes, in my DMC3 review, I said Virgil might have more moves in 4, and I was completely right. All of his weapons have way more attacks. He also has a brand new mechanic, that being the focus gauge, or concentration gauge. I don't remember the name. But the basics of the system is that it's Virgil's concentration. What does this do? Well, when the meter is full, Virgil's attacks are stronger and deal more damage. Some of his combos end up having special finishers as well. Moving slowly in combat and not missing attacks is what allows the gauge to fill up. But if you run, take damage, or miss, the focus gauge goes back down. There are actually some moves that are restricted to having maximum focus. The only one I really know of is this screen nuke, which requires max focus and the use of Devil Trigger. I played through Virgil's campaign in Legendary Dark Knight mode, which basically spawns dozens of more enemies, sometimes seemingly hundreds. And it's really fucking fun at times, but can get really tedious depending on the enemies. Like Mephistos and Fausts, requiring you to get rid of their cloaks before actually being able to deal damage to them. The Alto and Bianco Angelos can be really tough on this mode as well. I think the most fun I had was just watching so many of the enemies die with the screen nuke. It's just so goddamn satisfying to watch. The third and final playthrough, the one for Lady and Trish, I didn't spend much time with it. Lady and Trish do play very well though. Lady is basically Dante's gunslinger on steroids, seeing as she only uses guns. She gets the Kalina Ann, a shotgun, and some pistols. These can all be charged up for a super powerful attack, and can be switched between at will. With the Kalina Ann, Lady can grapple enemies and launch them up into the air, or slam them back down. Seeing as she is not part demon, she doesn't get a Devil Trigger in the traditional sense. She gets grenades. Each pip in the Devil Trigger gauge is basically one grenade, so the best thing to do is stock up Devil Trigger and use it all at once for a bigger explosion, thus more damage. Lastly, we have Trish. She is equipped with her 2 pistols, Lucy and Umbra, and the sword Sparta. She uses electrically infused punches and kicks alongside attacking with Sparta. This may not sound special, but the main gimmick behind Sparta is how much time it actually spends outside of Trish's hands, as it will do round trip for a very long amount of time based on this eye thing in her health bar. Her Devil Trigger is very simple. She's basically just covered in electricity and her attacks are far stronger. I'm not really sure if there is anything else involved in her gameplay, honestly. Trish is the character I have spent the least amount of time playing with, and that's nothing against her. She was really fun to play as. But every time I get around to actually playing as her, I'm sick of playing the game. Yes, unlike Devil May Cry 3 that I played for several weeks straight, Devil May Cry 4 doesn't hit me in the same way. There are several reasons for this, the biggest issue being the fact that you essentially play through the same levels 5 times, not assuming playing different difficulty levels for full completion. And this is where Devil May Cry 4 falls flat for me. I've played through these levels so many times over the years, and really, I'm sick of it. I feel like I've reached my peak of skill in this game, so I don't have that drive to get any better at it. I think it might just be me, but that's really how I feel about it. And that's not to say I don't like the game. I really do. I think the amount of time I spent with a reboot and then playing 3 really ruined this game for me. It's really hard to surpass how beautiful Devil May Cry 3 was, and 4 just couldn't compare. Let's talk presentation. Sure, I talked a lot about the game itself, like that's the end of the video, but it's not. We're still going strong. The game itself looks really good. The graphical style is very anime-esque with the character models, and that's to be expected. Each enemy, while some are a little uninspired, look really great and well rendered. They provide really great feedback from being hit as well. The character models look great too. Dante looks rugged and handsome, while Nero looks very clearly young with an air of smugness. One thing I really appreciate about the character models is that Virgil, who wasn't in the original game at all, only mentioned and even then he wasn't mentioned by name, looks straight up like his character model was created when the game originally released. For all I know, it was made for the original release, but it looks great and also old at the same time. It would have been really easy to make the model look too good for the game, so I'm glad they took the time to make it look authentic. Lady and Trish look great too, but honestly I'm not a huge fan of Lady's super short look in this game. It kinda makes me uncomfortable. More uncomfortable than a skirt would have been. Trish's design is really great too, and I approve of it. I wish they carried it over in 5, but I guess it makes sense that her design would be turned down and made more realistic. I guess I might change my mind when 5 comes out, but I'm not a huge fan of Trish's new design. If my opinion doesn't change after playing Devil May Cry 5, I'll talk about my thoughts on her design. There's going to be a hell of a lot to talk about during the 5 video. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but the 5 video will be way longer. There's music in this game too. Yes, while I'm still not super into game soundtracks, the Devil May Cry 4 soundtrack holds a really good place in my heart. At least, the main theme does. Back in early middle school to early high school, I listened to the song quite a bit and rather enjoyed it, along with the main theme for 3 as well. It was a pretty good time in my life. Devil May Cry 4 holds a special place in my heart, but coming back to it is really hard nowadays. The fact that the game was rushed really drags down the late game sections of the game, and makes it really hard to forgive and play. The fact that I would rather play the reboot or 3 instead of this game is really telling. I'd say this is my 3rd favorite game in the series, behind 3 and the reboot. I only put 1 and 2 behind it at the moment. Granted, 5 isn't out yet, but if it's half as good as I hope it will be, it'll at least be behind the reboot on my scale. And with this, my journey to Devil May Cry 5 is over. That is every game currently released in the series, fully reviewed. And I have to say, it's a little bittersweet. The only thing left to review is 5, and I pray to Itsuno that the game is amazing. I mean, the demo they released on Xbox One, and right before recording this, they released it on PS4 and a new version on Xbox One, is great. So that makes me really hopeful. I'll be playing it on PS4 Pro when it comes out, as that's my console of choice. I want to put this out here, Capcom, if for whatever reason you're watching this, I really want a review copy of the game. Sure, the video won't be out for a couple of weeks after the game itself releases, but it would be a lot of fun to do. You don't even have to pay us. Sure, I'd love to get paid to play your game, but I don't want the money. Look at me, begging with our tiny channel for a review copy. And before people say anything, I'm buying the game anyways. I'm sure by the time this video comes out, I would have already pre-ordered it. Don't get your panties in a bunch that I'm asking for a review copy. It is a joke. Anyways, that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching That Game Review Show. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos. At the end of my Onimusha review, I did talk about wanting to get the channel super high, or not super high, but more subscribers. And the Onimusha review ended up being one of our worst performing videos. So that worked out well for me, didn't it? Anyways, next week is Terrell's week, so come join us all back here then.